When we made this application, we decided to use the Livewire starter kit. And that doesn't really come with much stuff for JavaScript, which makes sense. The majority of your application you're going to be writing in PHP using Livewire. But you're still going to be using JavaScript, writing your own CSS, and making your own view files. So there's no reason why we can't benefit from some of the things that the other starter kits have. If we look at the package.json that was created by the Livewire starter kit, we can see the scripts that we have here are just building our assets. Doesn't really give us anything extra that we could use on top. But if we come and we look at, for example, the React starter kit, and we look at their package.json file, they have a bunch more things. So I have build SSR, which is not relevant. It's a different type of server-side rendering than we use with Livewire. But there are a bunch of other things, and the ones that I care about here are the format command and the format check command with Prettier, and the lint command using ESLint. And what I really want to do is just take these across into our own application and get those working. Obviously, right now we don't have Prettier or ESLint, so we're going to come and check what dependencies there are here. So we're going to get ESLint, the ESLint config for Prettier. We don't need the React ones because we're not using React with Livewire. We can get Prettier. We can get the Prettier plugin to organize imports, which means any imports at the top of your JavaScript files can get sorted in a very consistent way. And we can also get the official Prettier plugin for Tailwind CSS. And what this is going to do is whenever you have a class attribute in your markup, it's going to sort the classes in a very consistent way so that your code is always, easily understandable at a glance. You know that all of the variants and the modifiers are going to come at the end, all of the other things are going to come at the beginning. It's not going to be completely mixed up. And on top of that, there are a couple of other dependencies that some of these need, including the ESLint.js we're going to use, and we're going to use the globals one as well. So if we come back to our application, we can run this. So pm install Prettier, the organize imports plugin, the Tailwind CSS plugin, ESLint, ESLint config Prettier, ESLint.js, and globals, all of those commands that we were talking about before. We can run that and install them. And now that they're installed, hopefully these should just work. If I run any of these commands though, they're not going to be configured just yet because we've not copied over the configuration files. So if we come along and we look at the eslint.config.js file that's here, I'm just going to take all of this and create a new file in our own directory, eslint.config.js. I'm going to paste it in there, and then we can strip out the things that we don't really need. So we're going to use this, we're going to use Prettier. We don't need anything related to React, and we're also not using TypeScript yet, at least. So I'm going to remove anything related to any of those. And now that we've got rid of these, we can also just empty that out entirely. This entire section is filled with React stuff, so we can remove that. And we don't really care about the Bootstrap SSR thing because, like I said, we're not using that with Livewire. So by doing that, hopefully ESLint will now just work. If we run pm run lint, which is the command that's set up, it'll run that, it'll run the -- fix. It looks like it didn't actually make any changes to our code, but that's fine. We've not got much code yet. This is just a starter kit. What about Prettier, though? If we come back and look at the Prettier config, there's two files. There's Prettier ignore and Prettier RC. So we can come along and look at these and create these as needed in our own application. So the Ziggy is something that we just outright don't have in our Livewire application. Ziggy is something that is pretty much just used to help routing work on the front end of a JavaScript application, like the React starter kit. But these two we could probably keep. We don't actually need this either because we don't have any JavaScript components because our components are going to live in Blade. However, we can ignore the resources views mail directory because any mailables that we build, the markup needs to be pretty specific and consistent for any mail that gets sent because mail systems are a little bit antiquated. So we're going to make sure we ignore those. But the other file here is the Prettier RC. So we're going to come and copy that and set that one up. So Prettier RC, we're going to paste that config in, and we're going to see what we can do. So we can configure all of these things from Prettier here, but the really important things are that we've got this Prettier plugin organize imports and the Prettier plugin Tailwind CSS, and that it's pointing to our Tailwind style sheet, which does actually still exist in resources, CSS, app.css. This is where we're including Tailwind CSS. So that's the important thing. And the rest of this we can probably keep as well. So if I come back and I run pnpm run format, which was the command that we set up in the package.json, is coming along and it is now formatting this CSS file. So if we look at what changed with the CSS file, it looks like it's changed some of these fonts to be on a separate line. So it's not one super long line. It's changed some other stuff down here, just some spacing, removed an extra space around there, and also sorted this at apply from the app.css. So with all of that, we've now got all of these benefits from these things in our own application, even though we're not using the React Starter Kit. But we're going to come along and do one extra thing here, which is looking at the GitHub workflows. If I look at the tests workflow, the tests don't actually do anything additional here. But if we look at the lint workflow, we'll see that in addition to running Pint, this will also run npm run format and npm run lint. So if we come along to our own GitHub workflows for the linting, we can make sure we do have pnpm installed. So we've got our dependency set up. We can now just paste this in and start to format the front end and lint the front end directly in here. And with that, we've got our entire application set up to work with all of the great JavaScript tools that we had from the React Starter Kit as well.